Hey everybody, today Rahdo runs through his top 10 games that I wish I got to play more. And what's that mean? Well, basically, filming Rahdo runs through means I am constantly learning new rules, playing new games, and then filming them. I mean, my wife and I, my only gaming partner in the world, we probably learn and play 5, 6, sometimes 7 new games a week, and usually film 3 or 4 of them. It's just this constant, pushing that boulder uphill, trying to, forget about getting ahead, just trying to keep up with the amount of games that are coming out and that I'm getting my hands on it is a sizable task. And as a result of that, we very rarely get to go back and visit the games we love again. I mean, all these games on the board, I would love to play all of them. That's why I keep them. I mean, generally, we play a game a few times, I film it, then it goes on the shelf and starts gathering dust. And maybe someday in the far-flung future, we'll get some time, we can actually get some of these down and start playing, because there's always the next latest thing that I got to cover. So anyway, this is what that top 10 is. And interestingly, of this top 10, there is only one of these games that's actually in my top 10 of all time, because, well, the reality is most of the games in my top 10 I've actually played quite a bit. The more I play a game, the more I tend to enjoy it. So it's why this is extra sad, extra tragic. And oh man, doing this list was heartbreaking. I had to spend a lot of time thinking, because I wanted to play all of them. But these are the 10 that I want, that keep me up late at night thinking, oh man, if only I could, why am I playing this new game when I could be playing that? Well, because I'm going to make a video of it. That's why. These are all phenomenal games. And again, these are all phenomenal games, but these are the ones that, if I wasn't talking to you right now and I didn't have to move on to my next Rahdo runs through, that I would love to be able to play. So let's start counting down with number 10, Claustrophobia. It's interestingly, of all these 10 games, this is the one I've actually played the most. Jen and I, we've played this several times. But I feel like I've barely scratched the surface with it. It's such a wonderful, delightful dungeon crawl. I mean, I've talked about it at great length. I'm not going to open the box. I'm not going to talk about, I've done several run-throughs for the game. It's made it into quite a few of my top 10s, I think. It's an absolutely phenomenal game. It's extra interesting is this is one of the few games Jen and I enjoy where we're at each other's throats, where we're constantly trying to attack and destroy each other. But it's such a brilliantly realized dungeon crawl. It's the best one I've ever played, period. Nothing even comes remotely close to it. And, I got 2 expansions worth of content for this, and I barely scratched the surface. That's why it's on the list. There's so many cool things we've got to see. New creatures and abilities and scenarios and missions and whatnot. Plus, every one of them plays radically differently, whether you're playing as the dungeon keeper or the heroes invading. And interestingly, I never get to play as the heroes. Jen always plays as the heroes. I always have to play the evil dungeon lord. And if we got to play this more, heck, maybe every once in a while I'd get to be the heroes. Who knows? But my number 10 is Claustrophobia. And then my number 9 is Galaxy Trucker, which is an absolutely delightful game. Actually, a while ago I did a run through for every single expansion that was available for this. And so this is another one. It's actually interesting. I don't know if it's worked out this way. Yeah, these are the 2 games I have played more than any other one. So I guess that's why they're kind of higher on the list, because I've gotten more time with them, but I still want more. Galaxy Trucker's missions came out almost a year ago, and I have yet to actually even open it. And looks like the coolest expansion to date. But all the expansions are so cool in this game, and Jen and I just get such a blast out of it. And with all the stuff that's made available for it now, there is so much variety. And just the core game is so much fun. Absolutely adore this game. Can't get enough of number 9, Galaxy Trucker. Oh, by the way, should I actually say what these are? Yeah, what the heck. Claustrophobia, I say, is a dungeon crawl. One person is the evil dungeon lord, the other player is the heroes. It's this very cool dice mechanism that drives both players' gameplay experience, but the gameplay is radically different. You're playing effectively 2 completely different games while still competing. It's really, really cool. And then Galaxy Trucker, again, you can check out my run-through for every single one of these. I've done a run-through for all of these. Galaxy Trucker is a real-time game where you are trying as fast as you can to build your big space truck and then tool around from planet to planet, picking up goods, staying away from space pirates, having aliens board your ship and try to destroy it from within, and all kinds of catastrophes. It's a hilarious game, makes us laugh every time we play it, and it's just a blast. But now, moving on to number 8, Lord of the Rings, the card game. This is going to be another one of those cases where this box is really heavy. I don't know how much my wrist is going to be able to hold this up here. I've got so much expansion content for this game, and I barely scratched the surface. When I first got it, and Jen and I really liked it. I mean, at the time when it first came out, I got several of the little blister pack expansions, and I think one of the big box ones. So there's just a ton. There's probably a year's worth of gaming in this box with deck building and experimenting with different combinations and going through dozens and dozens of different adventures. The cooperative gameplay is absolutely stellar. It's gorgeous. It's probably one of the most pretty games we've got. Jen loves Lord of the Rings with all her heart and soul. And the interesting thing is, my one complaint about this game is how complex, really, really complicated the rules are. There's tons of little persnickety status things you're always having to check and whatnot. And this is really a game that I think benefits from lots of repeat play so that you can get all that stuff down so it becomes like second nature. I mean, back in the day, I used to play Magic the Gathering a lot, and I got to where it was all second nature. I'd love to play this enough to where everything is second nature and we can just sit in and enjoy the fun cooperative struggles through Middle Earth instead of every time we do rarely get to play it, we got to kind of relearn it from scratch. So I would love to spend an extended month or two with this thing, exploring its depths. That is number 8, Lord of the Rings, the card game. And then number 7, Kingdom Builder. This is a delightful game. This is a significantly lighter game than what I've talked about. So actually, I think of all these, this is the lightest game I'm going to talk about today. It's almost a filler. It's a very, very quick game. Again, I've done a run through for it, and it's interesting. I mean, this is a Spiel des Jahres winner. This is which is a huge, huge deal. This is like, best movie of the year Oscar winners, what the Spiel des Jahres is. But for some reason, a lot of players really kind of bag on it. There's this very commonly misheld assumption about the game that it's really overly simple. Every turn you just get one card, you play it, plays on autopilot. That's not the case at all. You can check out my run through to see why. But this is a game where we're building up a kingdom, and every time you play, this is going to be repeated. The reason I want to keep playing this more and more is, well, never mind the fact that I've got, there's one expansion, there's I think like 2 more expansions I don't have, one expansion I do have, but every time you play, this is from Don Lex Vaccarino, the maker of Dominion, and like Dominion, it creates a new combination of elements, different power-ups that are on the map. The map itself is radically different. The goals we get are radically different. So every time you play, you get a really unique combination of elements that ensures no 2 games ever be alike. And I would like to play this enough to where I could really feel like I've experienced it. I would like to play this as much as I played Dominion, and that's not the case, which is a shame because, again, I think it's got 3 expansions worth. I've only got 1. I want to get the other 2. I want to continue exploring this because it's an absolutely delightful game, and it's a blast. It's a super fun, fast, quick, and clever, and deceptively deep game. Kingdom Builder. Then on to number 6. Bomb Squad. Okay, this is the second real-time game. This is a cooperative game, the second cooperative game as well. And in this game, players are members of a bomb squad trying to defuse bombs and save lives. So the subject matter is really, really attractive, but what's really cool is this takes the gameplay, the card-style gameplay of Hanabi, where you can't see your hand. You can just see everybody else's hand, and you have to give everybody else clues so they can figure out what's in their hand. You're doing that in this game, but it's in real time under incredible time pressure as we're trying to figure out what cards are in our hand so we can properly program a bomb defusal robot and save the day. Now, we actually played this a few times when I had a prototype of it, which I did a Kickstarter prototype for it, and it was a really, really ugly prototype. I've now finally got the real commercial version, which looks gorgeous. It's absolutely, it's going to be so much more evocative, and it comes with a big old campaign with a lot of different missions to play through. I want to experience that entire story-led campaign from start to finish, but I haven't even played the final version. I only ever played the prototype we have, so I'm really, really desperate to play it because Jen and I liked it a lot. We love working together. We love real-time games, and the gameplay in this is really, really solid. It's a wonderfully smart game. Number 6, Bomb Squad. Then on to number 5. This would probably be a surprise for some people. They would expect me to put something else on, but I'm going to say Subdivision. You might think, well, what about Suburbia? Well, we've actually played Suburbia a fair bit, and and what about Castles of Mad King Ludwig? Well, that's an awesome game too. But in all honesty, I think Subdivision is a phenomenal game. I like it more than Castles of Mad King Ludwig. It's a real shame that it kind of flies under the radar, doesn't get much love. But this is such a clever city building game. There's so many of them out there, but this one is it's probably, well, maybe it's tied with Quadropolis for being the most puzzly, and we love that about it. But the thing that's really interesting about this game is in the back of the rules, there's a list of variants. The game comes with, I forget, like a dozen different variants for different ways you can play, where you can change, instead of just, getting a randomly generated puzzle, you can get these specific ones that, give you, that kind of change the rules up. And I want to explore those. So we've played this a few times, and we know we love it, but I want to start seeing what else is in this box. With all the different variants that come in, I really, really appreciate that. And someday, we'll be able to get back to our number 5, or my number 5, I should say, Subdivision. Then moving on to number 4, Aquasphere. Now, longtime fans of my show know that Stefan Feld is my favorite board game designer of all time. I've got a whole row of them up there. I'm very, very close to having done a run-through for every single Stefan Feld game in history, which I think will make me the only person to have ever done that. And of all of his games that I like, because I don't like all of his games, but of all of his games I like, Aquasphere is the one I've played the least and want to play more. If you ever watched my run-through for it, back when I did a prototype run-through of it, I talked about the time that this game really did gens in my head, and it put us through the ringer and challenged us in ways that all of his games are really deep and meaty and heavy and a lot of fun. We absolutely love them. But this one, there was something about it that made it a bigger challenge than his other ones, and I want to go back and play this until I master it, until I'm as comfortable with the rhythms of this as I am with Castles of Burgundy or Trajan or something like that. It's interesting. It's his most thematic game to date by far, and it's a really, really clever game. We're under the sea, doing scientific research in an aquasphere at the bottom of the ocean and dealing with threats to the biome and whatnot. And the whole game comes down to, you have two characters: your scientist who actually does the research, and your programmer who programs the robots who help your scientist. And the synergy between these two characters, who are doing very asymmetrical things while still working in a competitive game with some area control elements. It's a really clever game. It's very different than anything else he's done, and I want to spend more time under the sea in Aquasphere. Then moving on to number 4. Eminent Domain. This is the second Tasty Minstrel game on here. This is the only deck builder on here. We've played a lot of deck builders. We love deck builders. Always happy to try a new one. But this is the one that if I had my druthers, I'd want to come back to and experience more. It's actually interesting, too. The original game we really liked, but we didn't think there was enough variability in the what came in the original box. But with the first expansion that came out, it was like, oh my god, there are so many clever new systems for unique player setups, and so much to explore with the different tech trees you can level up, and how as you build your deck and conquer planets or colonize planets and all that. A really smart fundamental game system, kind of similar to Puerto Rico, where an action I do, you can piggyback off the actions I do, and vice versa. But there's like a whole nother expansion that came out for this last year, Eminent Domain Exotica. I haven't even broken the shrink on that. I've barely even scratched the surface of the previous expansion. There is so much game here, and it's so clever and so smart. That's why I want, again, this is like a Dominion. I want to have spent as much time playing this as Dominion so I can really just dig in deep, because the gameplay is so smart and there's so much variety with the expansions that have come out so far. And I just want more time with Eminent Domain. But now, moving on to number 2, and this is the only game in my top 10 of all time that made this list, because it is, of all the games in my top 10. Actually, I'm not sure if this is true, but I think it might be the second least played. And that's to say, I've played this game, I've played it 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I've played it to completion either 5 or 6 times. Every time with Jen, except for once, I played with a bunch of people and absolutely adored it. But I've had a great time every single time I played. Every time I played, I wanted to play again immediately. And Nations is absolutely delightful, and I want to play it more. Particularly because I recently got the Dynasties expansion, and the last time we played Nations, we actually played with that, and it was phenomenal. That Dynasties expansion adds so much goodness. There is so much replayability in this game now. Every time you play, again, as I've talked about before, you're going to get an insane amount of variety of experiences, depending on what cards come out and what order they come out in. And I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. And this game, every time I played it, Jen and I agree, it's absolutely phenomenal. It is the near perfect civilization game. It destroys all others in its class, and yet I should have played this. I want to play this at least 20 times before I can really feel like okay, yeah, I guess we can put this on the shelf for a while. The other games in my top 10, I have played 20, 30, 40 times. There's one game that I played less, and I might have mentioned it instead, except this is a bit on the long side. That's another tricky thing too. For me and Jen, this is a 2-hour game, so it's tougher for us to get this to the table. A shorter game, a half-hour game, we have a better chance of revisiting it over and over again. That's why this one's tough to do. That's why I want to play it even more, because it's just so phenomenal. It was my game of the year it came out. I should be playing Nations more. But almost done, folks. One more to talk about. My number one, man, I wish I could spend more time with this bad boy, Elysium. Wow, what a phenomenal game. Absolutely amazing. We are ancient pantheon of Greek gods, manipulating the affairs of mortal men to try to work our way up the steps of Olympus to be, number one god, all that kind of stuff. But at its heart, this is a really, really clever card game, so full of angsty, tough decisions. The crux of it is when you get a card and you play it out to your area, it starts giving you special powers that makes you more flexible, gives you a lot more you can do, but it doesn't do you any good until you transfer that card from the mortal realm, where it's affecting the affairs of man and giving you more resources and stuff like that. You eventually have to move it into your Elysium, which means it becomes a thing of legend and it's worth score points. But then you can't use it anymore, and you still want to use it. So, there are other games like that do this whole, I built up my thing, but now I have to destroy my thing to score points. But nobody does it better than Elysium. And the brilliant thing about this game is it comes with several different decks of cards. Each one has kind of a different theme, themed on the classic pantheon of gods from ancient Greece. And so every time you play, if you mix and match these gods, you're going to get a very different feeling game. And once again, we feel like we've just barely scratched the surface. I want to spend more time mixing and matching these gods and seeing what the experience is going to turn out to be, because Elysium is just phenomenal. So much so, it's my number one. Man, I wish I got to play this game more often, Elysium. And that's it, folks. 10 games that I may look happy, but I am very, very sad. And I'm going to go put them back on my shelf now, and they're going to continue gathering dust. And I'm going to go out and play a new game so that I'll be able to do a run-through for it sometime next week. But again, world's smallest violin playing for me. It's really not a problem. I'm very, very lucky. I'm very, very happy. I love playing new games. I love learning new games. But especially for Jen. I know Jen feels this even more strongly than me. We do wish we could spend more time with all of these games, but these ones more than any other. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. Questions, comments, concerns, as always, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a very, very nice day. Talk to you later. So long. Bye-bye.